I want to say that I feel blessed that sometimes God intervenes to help me achieve some goals that I may have. So you guys have been watching my video, you know that one of my New Year's resolutions for last year actually was to normalize my relationship with food. And I want to say that two incidents come up where God kind of intervened a little bit, and I ended up fasting a little bit longer than I thought I could because I had this intervention. At the beginning of 2020, when we could still do it, I was still doing a lot of tutoring in person. It seems like a very foreign concept now. But one of the frustrations I have with some of my in-person clients is that they have a tendency to change plans or to cancel at the last minute. Sometimes I drive somewhere and then they cancel, right? It's bad enough when people cancel remote appointments, but I tend not to be so upset by that because I can usually handle other things. I'm not out a trip, you know. It's not ideal, but it happens. So I had this one client, and I thought I had made clear with him that if he needs to cancel, I need 24 hours notice. He was okay with that. Now, the day of the appointment, we were going to meet at 6 o'clock, and he emails me at 4 o'clock and says his car had broken down and asked if I could go to his home instead. And obviously, I didn't want to go to his home for two reasons. One was that when I looked up his address on Google Maps, there were a lot of twists and turns. I'm not a very safe driver, and I don't want to drive into those local neighborhoods. I don't. It was in the wintertime at 6 p.m. when it's dark, and I just didn't want to make that drive. Part of the reason I gave him such a good deal was because we could meet at the Starbucks, which would be an easy drive for me, actually. The other reason being that I love meeting at a public place because it gives me an opportunity for other people to see my tutoring. I'm still looking for new clients. Sometimes a prospective client will walk by and get to know me. It happens. And I was giving this client a steal. I mean, he had some issues, and I gave him a steal, but in exchange, I wanted the advertisement, I wanted the safer drive, and all of a sudden, 2 hours before the meeting, he emails me wanting to change the location. Now, I had been fasting for 20 or 19 hours around that time, and I was just about to break the fast, but when I saw that email, I was so upset, I lost my appetite. And I went to his home, I completed the tutoring, I was so upset, I went back to sleep, and I didn't eat for another 8 hours, so I ended up fasting like 30-some hours, kind of unintentionally, because I was upset. Now, so a few months later, now we're into the COVID-19 pandemic, I had gone to the grocery store. I had already fasted 18, 19 hours, and I was going to break the fast. I went to get my favorite food. And I had lined up in front of at the self-checkout terminals. I think at this time there weren't too many cashiers working. They were all stocking the shelves. Only the self-checkout machines were open. And as I approached the front of the line, I noticed that one of the employees there was cleaning the self-checkout machine. I didn't want to touch the machines after it had just been cleaned. I like to stay away from those chemicals. And so the cashier had just cleaned one of the machines, and I waved for the guy behind me to go to that machine. And so the guy started stepping up to the machine, and instead of going to that machine, he walked up to another machine that had just happened the guy had just happened to be done with. And I just sighed, and I was so upset. I put my groceries on the ground, and I ran out of the store. I was upset. It wasn't anybody's fault or anything. I was just upset at the circumstance. And I was so upset I lost my appetite. I ended up fasting another few hours, so that was good. That was good. See, that's why I love having a normal relationship with food. Had that happened 2 years earlier, 3 years earlier, when I was still dealing with compulsive eating, both of those circumstances would have been very upsetting to me. Now, I had a funny situation today. I'm getting ready for, I had a job interview today. And last week, I had a glitch on my 401k, not 401k, Roth IRA account. I had made a trade, but I accidentally made it in another account, and I quickly reversed it. But when I did, I accidentally sold older shares that I had purchased instead of the ones that I just did. And I needed to call E-Trade to fix that. And E-Trade has been very busy. 5-hour wait times. Sometimes I'll just put the phone down with speaker on, and even then I get disconnected. And finally today, just before the job interview, E-Trade called me to confirm that they had fixed it. And it put me in a good mood to handle the job interview. So that was good. Had I not had that crisis, it wasn't a terrible crisis, but had I not had that problem last week, I probably wouldn't have gotten that boost today before I went to the job interview. So that was good. So sometimes God just intervenes in weird ways. Have you ever had an intervention like that?